fearless, hopeful, and resilient.
The Brave Files are supported by Julien Desjardins, a certified strategist for small business owners. If you've already made that brave decision to start your own business, it's time to stop trying to do it all alone. Check out our show notes for more information or visit juliendesjardins.com.
You are listening to The Brave Files, real stories from people living courageously. You can listen to the show anywhere you enjoy podcasts, and we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on Apple Podcasts. It really does make a difference, and we appreciate it. Now here's your host, Heather Vickery.
Welcome to The Brave Files, friends. I'm really super delighted to welcome today's guest, Dale Spencer. Dale and I were introduced a few years ago because our missions seem aligned as motivational speakers, and somebody that we both knew said, you two should know each other. And Dale and I became very, very fast friends. He's the source of so much inspiration for me. Dale has lived over half of his life paralyzed after an accident when he was 20. And despite this, Dale's triumphed over adversity and risen to the top of his profession and done so many other cool things that I can't wait to tell you about. Dale has used simple techniques to keep his fear in check and his mind focused, and he helps others overcome fear to experience success in every aspect of their life. And that's just one portion of this super cool fella. Dale, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Heather.
I am really, really excited to have you. So let's just kind of start at the beginning of where your journey really took a turn. Can you tell us a little bit about the accident?
Oh, absolutely. The injury was back in '88, and I was a junior in college. So it's so funny that you say journey because, you know what, I didn't take the wrong journey after this. I just considered it a different journey.
Yeah.
So what happened was I was with some friends. We decided to head over to a party after studying for finals. It was December, and we're on our way there, took a shortcut on some railroad tracks. Decided not a big deal, not dangerous at all, which obviously that's not the case. And get on the railroad tracks, we're walking across, and we came over a railroad cross trestle, and underneath was a river. And I was walking across, and I slipped and fell, and it was about a 40-foot drop into a very shallow river.
What time of year was this?
This was December 1988, so
okay.
It was freezing. The water was freezing.
Yeah.
What really saved me is the fact that I was conscious. You know, a lot of these injuries, you know, you have, you know, the trauma of it. People end up in comas for days, weeks, perhaps even months or years. My case was, you know, I think my brain shut off for a moment while I was falling, hit the river, and then opened my eyes and realized that I was in trouble because I'm half submerged in water looking up at the tracks instead of walking on them. So at that point, I didn't even know how much time, you know, went by. I was with some friends at the time, so I hoped that they were still in the area, and I just screamed out to them until somebody came down. Luckily, they were still in the area, came down. I told them what happened, and they immediately went over to a neighbor's house to use their phone to call an ambulance.
They obviously knew that you fell or that something had happened, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So they were presumably looking for you.
No, they weren't looking for me because it was pitch black. They didn't even know I fell.
So they didn't know you fell. They
knew I fell. It was very dark out. You couldn't even see your nose in front of your face.
Okay.
And so I fell, I yelled out. Then they realized that, you know, my screams were authentic. They came down and found me at the side of the river and just assumed that I fell.
Okay. All right. And so do you remember that, or have you blocked?
No, the only thing I didn't remember was that 2 seconds when I fell.
Okay.
So I remember everything else.
You remember everything. Did you know you couldn't move?
Yes, right away. Felt like my legs were being sucked into the water. Felt for my legs were completely numb, so I was in trouble. So I knew not to move.
Well, that's
so the ambulance came within. You know,
I'm not sure I would know not to move. Be like, we got to get that out of here.
Exactly. It could have been much worse. It really could have, because somebody actually died in that bridge beforehand, about a week before.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's pretty scary. What happened from there? What was your healing process like? What was your mindset? Like, tell us what happened.
Well, the healing process was multifaceted. I mean, you're looking for emotional, spiritual, mental, and physical. I mean, the first part was physical, you know, because obviously I was still in shock. So I immediately was transported by helicopter to Northwestern Memorial in the city. And they, you know, the surgeons gave a 12-hour operation to replace my vertebrae with bone fragments from my other parts of my body.
Oh, wow.
Formed a new vertebrae, put it in, fused two 12-inch titanium rods in there, and then I went straight to ICU. And so, and it was nice because I always talk when my motivational speaking, I always talk about a cornerstone of being fearless or overcoming any fear is that support system. I mean, I had a ton of friends, family, everybody visiting me. So, I mean, obviously that lifted my spirits, and I just truly felt that I was not alone. So it was a comforting feeling, even though I was going through all sorts of pain.
I can't. Yeah. The pain had to be extraordinary. How were your parents handling? I mean, I have a daughter who's 13, so not 20 yet, but it's not that far off. And I can't imagine keeping my cool.
Well, most of these injuries, it's funny you say that. I mean, these happen between age 15 and 24. And so, especially when the kids go off to college. Sorry. They just have to be understanding that they're not indestructible. And when they put themselves in harm's way, to understand that, how can you problem solve yourself out of the situation pragmatically? It's important.
So your parents freaked out?
My freaked out. My dad was more of a passive guy, so didn't really show too much emotion. My mom, the doctor came out and said, "Hey, by the way, your son's never going to walk again." Like he said, "I'm going to get a sandwich." So he said it really in a very laissez-faire kind of
Just
way.
As it was, which probably wasn't
exactly.
Was it a shock?
No, well, she threw him
against
the wall. She threw him against the wall. And,
I like her.
She said, how dare you talk to my son like that, or about my son like this? Honestly, you just don't know what's going to happen when somebody has a spinal cord injury. But at that moment, that's not what the parents need to hear.
No, not at all. And obviously the approach wasn't good, but I can appreciate that reaction out of your mom.
She's a fiery Sicilian woman. It'll happen.
Excellent. So how did you feel? What was that process like for you when they told you were?
Well, one of my 3 words is hopeful,
Yes,
and that's what I was hoping to walk again. But when I came over the realization months later that I wasn't, that I just wanted to move forward, get my degree, be successful in every aspect of my life, even though that I don't have movement in my legs. But at that point, I was just hopeful that I was going to be able to walk again. And there was no question that I was going back to school.
Yeah. So that was my next question. Did you go right back to school?
I did. So I got discharged in February of 89. And it was too late to sign up for the spring semester, so I had to wait till August. So from injury till moving back to Northern Illinois University was about 8 months.
That's pretty extraordinary. That's pretty fast.
That's very extraordinary. Yeah, it's quick. It's quick. Because, if I didn't go back then, the question is, would I ever come back?
Right. Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
What was it like? And this is all a long time ago, and there's so much that you've done since then, but I'm really curious because we haven't talked about this, you and I, in this level of detail. What was it like going back to school?
Well, it is kind of funny because, when you have casual conversations like you and I have had in the past, I give the Cliff Notes version. I don't give the whole step-by-step detail.
And we're weirdos if we're like, what was it like when you went back to school?
I know. Yeah, I'm not preaching you or anything. So here's the deal. So I get back to school. I actually say this in my speeches too. And I always talk about people and not only the support systems, but your attitude in life and how you're perceived by others and vice versa.
Yeah.
So I went back to school thinking that I had the thickest skin around. And, NIU, Northern Illinois University, is not a school where it's completely accessible to people, meaning for wheelchairs.
Right.
So guess what? Not too many people on campus. And I went to my first day of classes and all eyes were on me. And so immediately all those, childhood insecurities and thinking they're judging me. And there's, we've all had that feeling. We're human beings. So I went back to my apartment and I broke down and cried. I mean, I didn't think that I can make it in school because of this fear of what people thought of me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I look back at it now, it's kind of silly, but during that time, because it's a big adjustment. This is a new world. Even though I'm moving forward, I didn't have the experience of actually going back to school, being in a chair until that moment.
I don't think it's silly. I mean, I think that's life, right? To look back and go, gosh, I can't believe I reacted that way. But the reality is, and this is what you go around the globe teaching people, right? Is that fear is real. Whatever it is that you're afraid of, it's real to you at that moment. It's then what you do with it. It's
Correct.
how you process it, and I always say, we use different terms, but I always say fear either owns you or empowers you. The choice is yours. So I don't think it's silly, right? I think as a young boy in this situation, I'd go home and cry. I mean, it sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It
All
does.
right. So what did you do with this, right? You graduated from school, and at what point did you decide to start, talking to people about it, or how did sort of the rest of your life unfold?
So to kind of piggyback what we just talked about, when I went back to school, I went back to class day by day by day. My skin got thicker and thicker and thicker. And, being almost 30 years post-injury, I don't even register when people stare at me. And I'm sure there are people that do look at me, but I just don't. I got too many important goals and things in life that I need to be concerned about than to worry about what somebody else is thinking about me, because that's their problem, not my problem. So utilizing that and graduating college and understanding that, I'm in the wheelchair. Why am I in the wheelchair? Is it fate? I mean, we can have those philosophical questions forever, but I think for me is, heck, what am I going to do with this now? Am I just going to go work for a company and make money and that's it? No, I kind of wanted to get that balance in life and kind of have that responsibility to help others. And so I was introduced to this program actually by my occupational therapist when I was an inpatient over at Mary and Joy, when I went to my outpatient program right before I went back to school. Think First Injury Prevention. It's actually thinkfirst.org. What they do is it's a efficacy program and work on the health belief model to teach students from K through 12 to make sound decisions to prevent spinal cord and traumatic brain injuries. So what I do is in the middle schools and high schools, I go there, talk about my own personal story and how a split-second decision changed the course of my life. And what I do is always end up with, hey, I know I'm doing really well and happy in life. Would I give my everything back to my legs back? Yeah, you can say it on the one side, but the other side is, I'm just on a different journey, but a good journey. And part of that reason is to show you about what happened to me. And so you can make these sound choices. Once you become in harm's way, just keep my part of the conversation in the back of your mind and say, hey, maybe this is not a good idea. And I know it's worked. I mean, because people are thinking, well, how do you know it's helped? I've actually had a couple of people come up years after they heard me in high school. Remember the presentation, remember what the program was called, and remembered my story, even details to what happened with the railroad tracks and everything. So
I think that's great. It's working.
Yeah, it's great. Well, you're not going to learn, you're not going to affect everybody, but if you could affect a couple of people in the room, you're doing a really good job. So
no, I hear that. So would you say, for you feel less like this was fate and more like it was just a really bad decision?
Both.
Yeah.
I think it opened my eyes to understanding me as a human being, which I think is one of our responsibilities, is to really help each other in life. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm utilizing my bad situation, the bad decision that I made, to help other people.
Well, it's interesting because you're not the first guest I've had on the show, totally different scenario, different outcome, but who made decisions that probably weren't very smart. In fact, now in retrospect, weren't very smart, and then gone into a profession where they helped kids not make that kind of choice. And I think it's remarkable, right? But it happens a lot. And those of you that can do it, I think, are really extraordinary humans and offer so much to us as a community. But most people don't learn their lessons that well. I mean, right? Most people.
Well, big part of it was somebody in my position. I think they don't understand their decisions. A lot of people that have spinal cord injuries or traumatic brain injuries, unfortunately, turn to drugs and alcohol. And so I know I have friends on both different sides of the fence. I mean, some people that have completely cleaned up their lives. Even I know gang members who are first speakers with me. These guys have completely changed their lives in understanding how gangs are not a good idea to join. And this is what can happen. And then there's other people that turn to booze and alcohol and really deteriorate from that point. And it's very sad, but it's our own choices of what we want to do with our lives. I mean,
you get to decide how you're going to cope and what you're going to do with it. So at what point specifically would you say that you knew you had to take your experience and help other people with it?
Well, I've been doing it with Think First since '94, but I think it was back in 2011 where I realized, I'm in the mortgage industry. I'm a mortgage banker. And so I help people, get refinancing of their homes or purchasing homes. And it was after the whole real estate debacle happened of '08, and I was beating my head against the wall because every deal that I pushed through the pipeline, the guidelines were changing. It was it was really tough to do business in that environment. I'm thinking, well, how can, I don't feel that I was helping people that I needed to. And so what other outlet could I utilize to work on my mission? And I fell back on my first experience. I've spoken to over 100,000 students over the last 23 years.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I can do that. I'm good at speaking because I've done it for so darn long. So why don't I build a program where not only high school, middle school students can appreciate, but everybody in all levels of business and personally from 8 to 80. And so I developed, something that I felt that everybody has the same pattern, is how you overcome fear. No matter if you live in Tokyo, Holland, LA, England, Chicago, they all deal with the same fear and how to overcome it. So I felt that it's a universal message. Well, pragmatically, I talk about fear and how to overcome it and how to utilize practical and pragmatic steps. So you have fears, and I always do that with the acronyms, FEARS. I talk about focus, energy, attitude, resilience, and support systems, and how to utilize all 5 of those aspects to figure out and overcome any fear of any situation.
And you feel, and I would tend to agree with you, that applying those works in pretty much every situation?
Every situation.
Yeah.
It's simple, but it's not simple at the same time, meaning that people overanalyze things.
Right. Yeah.
The insecurities come forward. Their pride gets in the way. Like, okay, no, I don't need your help. I'll do it myself. You understand There's people around you on the professional and personal side are willing to help.
When I'm coaching, I have a whole section on the joys of asking and receiving, asking for help and receiving the help, and how it's a huge game changer. So it sounds like it ties into you, when you talk about allowing your support system to support you and prevent you from doing things that you're going to really seriously regret doing.
Well, and that was one of the toughest things I had to do in my life, because I think the first words came out of my mouth when I was a kid was, I'll do it myself. I never wanted help from anybody. And through having the injury and that experience taught me that people are there to help me, and I'm there to help people, and we're in this together and not alone. A lot of people, they have a malady that happens, whether it's physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, that they think they have to hunker down and not talk to anybody.
Yeah. I remember that for me personally when I was going through my divorce, and I wanted to be able to do it myself. And there are a lot of things I still feel that way about, because sometimes it's just easier.
Because we're human. We're
human, and it's easier than trying to explain to somebody else. But overall, from a community standpoint, I reached a point where I just couldn't do it. I couldn't be in all the places at all the times and take care of everybody. And I had to start asking for help in simple ways, right? Like getting rides for the kids to and from school. Or if somebody wanted my kid for a play date, I would have to say, yes, she can come, but you've got to drive her home. There's only so much I can do. What I discovered, though, and those all seem really silly compared to the kind of support you had to ask for, but what I discovered is that people are really quite happy to help and be supportive. And then when I allowed them to do that, I realized how much they cared for me and how much love there was around me. And then I had more energy to give back to them in that way. And the circle there was really eye-opening for me.
Isn't it interesting? Sometimes we need those types of reminders.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. What would you say, as you look back on all of this, has been the biggest struggle for you, Dale?
It's a daily struggle, actually. But you know what? It's not, isolated to somebody that has a spinal cord injury.
Right.
Like when you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, F-bomb. The first 10 seconds, you're like, okay, I can't believe I'm going to go through this day. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to do anything right now. And then all of a sudden, those 10 seconds pass, and then you realize that there's so many opportunities for you in this world, in this day. And then you just, seize the moment right there.
I like that. We don't always want to, right? It doesn't feel good right away, but then you find the blessing sort of within it. That makes me think, I wonder, do you have any daily grounding rituals, any things that you do on a daily basis sort of keep you level?
I would say one of the biggest things is, you and I have talked about this very recently. I'm going through kind of a tough physical situation. I'm on the mend right now, so things are getting better. So part of my ritual was working out every day. But I'm going to be pretty soon. I'm going to get back to that part of the ritual. Mm-hmm. But reading positive affirmations and then meditating. I think those keep me grounded throughout every course of every given day.
Where do you get your affirmations?
I listen to, Robin Sharma, John Maxwell, Marie Forleo, Darren Hardy. That's just to name a few.
Yeah, no, that's great. And how much time do you spend meditating? And what is meditation like for you?
Meditation is different for everybody. For me, I just put the new agey music on, and it's just that ethereal sound. Or you can do, sounds of nature, but that's kind of what I do on the new age thing. And then just kind of clear my head and just understand and think about what I need to do during the course of the day and try not to get overwhelmed. Because that's one of my biggest issues right now is immediately becoming overwhelmed in my life. And I have to segment everything. Oh yeah, because you want to do everything by the end of the day, and you can't. You got to do baby steps, and you can only do certain spoonfuls, right?
Yeah.
No matter how ambitious you are.
Absolutely. So how long do you I know some people who meditate for an hour every day. I know somebody who meditates for 3 minutes every day. Where does that fall for you?
I'd say about 10.
About 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different I think for everybody.
Nice. What I found interesting, I am not a meditator. That's like a big secret to let out. I talk about meditation to clients all the time because I do know it helps a lot of people. I do other things that keep me solid and grounded. But what I found the most interesting to learn was that meditation is not the absence of thought. You're not trying to silence your mind. It's just space.
Yes. In a different space, and you focus on your body and you focus your mind. Mm-hmm. Because you're not going to do that for the rest of the day because you are working with minutia that you need to take care of during every given day. So there's no time to get that space in your mind. There's just no time. That's why it's nice to have that little balance there, even though whether it's 3 minutes, 10 minutes, or an hour. I wish I had an hour. I just don't.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I totally hear you. I took something from a podcast that I listened to, so I'll give a little plug to Raj Jana. Now he'll have to listen to the Stay Grounded podcast. And he had an episode once where they talk about spending time in silence as your coffee's brewing. And I do that. I do take that. So it's not like legitimate meditation, but I do stand there silently and just breathe for the 45 seconds it takes for my coffee to brew. So it looks different for everyone.
Still time. That's time.
Absolutely. Yeah. What would you say, Dale, has been your biggest silver lining, your greatest joy, the thing that gives you the most happiness?
I'd like to say helping others. In the last several months, it's been taking care of myself because now that I haven't been worried about my work and trying to heal from my situation, that I understand that I do need to take a breather in life.
Yeah.
People understand that if I'm down for the count, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my relationships. What's going to happen here? It was a big unknown. So I was fearful of that, but understanding that I have the support system. Even my market leader came to visit me in the hospital, and she just totally, completely understood and talked to her higher ups and understand that the reason Dale's not producing any business is here's his situation. He's got to be on the mend. He's got an infection, and he's going to get better, and he's going to kick butt for our company. So it was nice that they gave that time.
Yeah. If I heard you correctly, not only did you not have to fear it, people stepped up in a big way. You want to share? I mean, I think your partner, your girlfriend stepped up in a really big way as well, right?
Yeah, she did. So I had the operation, and then she just came to live with me and just started, helping around the house. I mean, my mom said that, no, I'm going to stay here until you get better. And you know how moms are, they're very loving, but at the same time, they could be,
to go.
Yeah. So
Mom, don't get mad at me.
The tough love mom. My mom is a nurturing mom, but she has a little more tough love than the former. So to have somebody that had that calm and patience with my ridiculousness, it was nice and helpful. And so again, it's part of the support system. If I didn't have that, it would have been rough.
So I would love for you to share with our listeners one of the things that you showed me the very, very first time we met. And I know it's not just the least of the cool things you've done. You said that you wanted to ski.
Yeah.
And have you skied, Dale?
I have. I started in 2011, and I went to Park City, Utah every year. With the exception of last year, I had an opportunity to go with a ski group to Zermatt, Switzerland. So I had a chance to get out there and skiing right under the Matterhorn, which was pretty phenomenal. This is the Swiss Alps. It's fun stuff.
Really cool. You have a video. Will you share the video with me so I can share it with our listeners?
I'll definitely share it with you. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have to go and watch this. It's one of the most joyful things I have ever seen is
you're too sweet. Thank you.
Oh, I love it. But what else have you done that people would never imagine you could do because you're wheelchair bound?
Riding horses.
I mean,
I used to be a wrangler when I was a teenager. So we used to take people out on rides and actually race horses. So after my injury, went back up to the ranch that I used to work at and just started riding again. So ride quarter horses. It was Western, so that way I couldn't do English. It would be impossible for somebody, or nearly improbable for somebody in spinal cord injury the way it's set up. So Western's the way to go. So I did that, and kayak. I do kayak marathons.
Kayak marathons, not just kayaking. It's a marathon.
It's a marathon.
That's really, well, you have tremendous, or have, as far as I know, upper body strength. I know you haven't been able to work out.
It helps. But I need to get back to where I was before. Got to get the endurance and strength up. But yes, I will make sure that next year I'm going to be doing the marathon again. They have another one called the River Rumble where you go down the Mississippi. It's 100 miles and it's about a 5-day trek. So I think we're going to do that soon too.
Where do you sleep when you do that?
There's a truck that meets you at each campsite. It has all your camping materials. So
you're camping. You're camping.
Yeah. Yes.
For the record, I don't camp. If there's not, people are going to.
You're telling me you're a city girl, right?
You know, if there's not attached running water, I'm just not in.
That's funny. That's funny.
I know. It makes my partner crazy, and people think I'm a total pain in the butt. But it's just
speaking of city, I've done the architectural tour on kayaks going down the Chicago River. A lot of fun. Oh,
that's cool. That is a fun experience, and I love that you've done that. You know, throughout all of this, have you felt brave? Does it feel like this shit is really brave?
No. I don't know if that feeling would be, in my instance, would be self-serving or just trying to pat myself on the back. I think I look at it more of, I think the perception is other people think I'm courageous, I'm brave. The way I view it is, if there's something that interests me, I want to learn it. For example, the skiing thing. You know, when I was an able-bodied skier, I was a crappy skier because I didn't accept instruction. Since I was disabled, started to learn how to ski, I wanted to do it right. And so I'm a lot better than I was when I was able-bodied, if that makes sense.
I think that's really cool. What an interesting perspective that is. And again, goes back to the ability to let somebody support you and help you. Makes you
and my
better.
buddy Bill was my best friend. He had a timeshare out in Park City, Utah, and invited me out there, and we just went every year. It was a blast.
So super duper cool. I love it. So when you do cool things like that, or as you went back to school and then you graduated and you got a job and all these other fun things, how do you celebrate those successes? What do you do to honor them?
God, I'm not sure if I ever had that question before. I think you got me, Heather.
Ooh,
seriously.
That's good.
How do I celebrate it? I celebrate it for the fact that I can do it, even though I'm in a chair. And, tech is involved there, but I think the sign of the times has come. People 20 or 30, 40 years ago thought of people in wheelchairs as invalids and be staying inside all the time. But there's so many opportunities. I mean, there are dozens and dozens of sports out there they call it adaptive sports. And I mean, you name it, from baseball to equestrian to skiing to off-road biking, hiking. They have it all. And there's a lot of programs that are around in the country that really support that.
Well, I encourage you, the coach in me encourages you to give yourself that internal high five, right?
Thank
honestly,
you.
If I did a kayak marathon, I would be celebrating my ass off, and I have.
So it's so funny. We finished the kayak marathon, and Billy and I go over to the timetable. We're like, okay, did we beat our time from last year? That's all we were worried about. We wanted to beat the time for last year, not saying that, okay, we accomplished this.
Right.
When that feeling didn't even come through the mind, I'm like, okay, did we beat the time?
Well, I think you should. I'll bet you, with as in touch with mindset as you are, and support and fearlessness and all of that, I'll bet you if you stop to celebrate those cool things in a way that any person would or could do, whether or not you have a disability or not, I'll bet you more will open up to you. I want you to do it and then tell me. Will you do it?
I'm going to try just for that specific reason.
Yeah.
And I will. Next thing I do, you will be the first person I text, I promise.
I cannot wait. I cannot
Cool.
wait. So one of the things I love to do in every episode is ask each guest what their favorite charitable organization is to support. I really just believe it brings us together as a community and connects us on a deeply human level. So will you share your favorite organization with us?
Absolutely. I just shared it towards the beginning of our conversation, a program that I've been involved with for over 20 years called Think First, National Injury Prevention Foundation. Easy web address. It's www.thinkfirst.org. It's a program that's been around for 30 years and helps students prevent spinal cord and traumatic brain injuries and death by making sound decisions in life.
What an extraordinarily powerful organization. I love that it exists. As I ask each of you listeners every week, go check them out, right? Learn about them, find their website, find them on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or wherever you're hanging out. If you have something to donate, do so. If you have time to support and give, do that. At the very least, share it with somebody else. That's what makes our community stronger and better. And I implore you to learn more about Dale's favorite organization. So thank you for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
So Dale, as we come to the end of the show, I'd like to have you repeat your 3 words for us. Will you do that?
Sure. And I've been thinking about those 3 words, and hopefully I kind of knocked it out of the park and home during our conversation. Is a big part of my life is being fearless, hopeful, and resilient.
Yeah, if anybody embodies those, I believe it's you, which is pretty cool. There's nothing that you've wanted to do that you haven't done, which is really cool. I mean, most people have things that they have not accomplished. So I love that you are indeed fearless, hopeful, and resilient. I'm really just so glad that I get to count you among my friends. I love that when you come to mind, I send you a text and you're always pleased to hear it.
You do, and it's been really nice. And when I was in the hospital early in January, I got your text. I really appreciated it. It meant a lot that you were thinking about me. It really meant a lot to me.
Absolutely. I am grateful for you. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Despite all of the odds, Dale is seriously one of the happiest people I know. His ability to completely transform his mindset and turn fear into action is something we can all learn from. Dale, thank you so much for being here with us and sharing.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Excellent. So listeners, I'm super glad to have you here, and I have a little favor. Will you share this podcast with at least one new person? Listen, we're all about building community, and if something you've listened to resonates with you, it'd be awesome if you'd consider sharing it and helping spread the word about the show. I would also love to have you subscribe, rate, and review anywhere that you listen and enjoy podcasts. I know I ask a lot, but it makes a big difference. All right, so that's it for today. I'll talk to you all next Thursday, and this is Heather Vickery reminding you to choose bravely. The Brave Files is also supported by Frizz Marketing, a boutique marketing firm offering tailored services to small businesses and nonprofits. Frizz helps you distill your authentic story and get in front of the right audience. Contact them today at frizzmarketing.com.
Thank you for listening to The Brave Files. Be sure to visit thebravefilespodcast.com to access the show notes and discover fantastic bonus content. Music composed and produced by Matt Lewis of Union Music, LLC.